I'm going to take a second to talk to you about underdogs.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for
Yeah.
you.
Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call him man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, really time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So we back with another one, man. Let me know y'all can hear me good. Make sure y'all can hear me good. I see everybody already in the chat, man. Shout out to y'all. I'm excited for this one, man. It's playoff. It's playoff time. This is what we've been. I'm not worried about what happened during the regular season. I'm not worried about what happened in week 3, what happened in week 4, what happened. Those are weeks. Right, this is the playoffs now. We're talking big boy. Time to put your big boy pants on and get to work. And I think my team is ready to do that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the Eagles. We definitely gonna talk some things about the Eagles. But I want to talk about the NFL as a whole this week. We get to, as Eagles fans, kind of kick back and relax, right? Finally get to, we deserve this. We deserve this. There's been too many years that we've had to struggle and bite our fingernails to make sure we win it. This year felt good. This year we were fighting for the number 1 seed. It's one thing, and I guess, the Cowboys were good. So at the end of the day, we were fighting for the NFC East at the end in lieu of that. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying. 14 wins in any other year is you're relaxing by week 12 probably. So I'm happy with where the Eagles are right now. I am very happy with where the Eagles are right now. And I feel like we're only going up. We're getting healthy, right? We saw that Lane Johnson, I guess, wants to be a wrestler, which I know people. Maybe we can make that happen. That would be interesting. I'm gonna have to talk to some guys. But Lane Johnson, that threw me off. So if you follow me on Twitter, I was like, wait, I'm confused because it was too good. Maybe he was a little bit too good at it. But shout out to everybody already in the chat. And we're gonna also get my guy Sam Monson from PFF on the show, and we're going to talk about these playoffs. We're going to talk about this season that just passed us, and we're going to talk about Hassan Reddick not being on the first team All-Pro. I don't think that he was on any of their teams for their All-Pro, but we're going to get to that. You know what I'm saying? The shout out to my guy Sam Monson. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Jalen. I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. You see how I strategically, and I'm proud of myself for that because honestly, I mean to do it, but I strategically didn't say Jalen Hurts. You see how I said I didn't mean to do it, but now it's strategically. I'm great with my words. But I didn't say Jalen Hurts, right? We didn't talk about Jalen Hurts. A lot of people, especially on Twitter, I feel like Twitter doctors have become the new urgent care for some weird reason. Everybody on Twitter is telling me to be nervous about my quarterback. Everybody on Twitter is telling me that Jalen Hurts is not ready. Jalen Hurts, the injury, we're doing him dirty. We need to be looked at. There's something going on out there in Philadelphia. I'm fine. I think that Jalen Hurts is fine. I think that Jalen Hurts, is he 100%? Probably not. Is anybody on this team, is anybody in the NFL 100%? Probably not. When the stakes are this high, I'm sure that Jalen Hurts is one of those people saying, no, I want to be out there. Not that I have to be out there. Not that, you know what I'm saying? Well, in our eyes, I think that he has to be out there. But he's a competitor. He's a fighter. He's going to want to be out there. He's going to want to go out there and see the bullets flying. He's going to want to be the reason we win or the reason we lose. And that's why I think we all respect him. That's why we all love Jalen Hurts. So I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts. I'm not worried about what's happening with his show. I feel like this team and this, staff is smart enough to know when it makes sense to put him out there. So I'm going to put my faith in them, and I'm going to put my faith in Jalen Hurts like we have all season, that he's going to be able to go out there and get the job done. So plain and simple, I'm not worried about it. So Lane Johnson actually put out a nice little WWE promo. I don't know if anybody saw that. He did put out a nice little I thought it was real for a second. I was like, is this why? We all know that Jordan Mailata missed, or at least we all assume that he missed. Jordan Mailata missed some time in the preseason, in the offseason, because of The Masked Singer, right? A lot of people were making a joke about it, and then we kind of found out that he was on The Masked Singer, and then that was kind of the thought. And you know, when I first saw this, I was like, is he missing time because of the W? And obviously that's in hindsight, that's dumb to even think. But at first I thought he was really part of the WWE. But to me, that means that he's healthy. To me, that means he's ready to go. Him being able to go out there, make a video, make a, hey, I'm here, I'm ready. It's time to, everything comes through Philly. Like, I feel like that says a lot about who Lane Johnson is, first of all. And then secondly, where Lane Johnson is in the process, right? He brings that up even in the statement. It was like, people forget the steps that it takes to get where you're going. So he took the proper steps, in my opinion, to be healthy. So I'm not worried about that either. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Who we got in here? I missed some in the early going, but we got Richard Prier in the building. We got D3 Springs, Michael DeJean, Michael Johnson. What's going on? Yeah, we're going to get to these. I'm going to get to my predictions for this year. But what's going on, Nina? What's going on? What's going on, Richard? Birds are chilling and soon to be thrilling. And that's what I'm saying. People are trolling on Twitter, on Facebook, trying to look for every weakness in the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not talking about the Chiefs, right? How much do you hear about the Chiefs? How much? They're a 1 seed, right? How much do you hear about the Bills? And I hate to sound like a Dallas Cowboys fan because that's what it makes me sound like when I start saying that. I don't care. If you want to talk about us, that's fine. I really could care less. It's just ironic, right? It's just funny. It's just how much better the shoe looks when it's on your foot in a sense, right? So I love it. I ain't mad at it. I ain't even mad at it. I ain't even mad at it. What's going on, Jacob? What's going on, Lonely B? Gotta love playoff football. It's some next level football. I love it. It's a double-edged sword, right? You look at the playoffs as a culmination of all the work that you've done, right? All the work that you've done as a football. People are like, oh, you say we like you part of the team. I am, man. It's a long season. I talk about the Philadelphia Eagles year round. You know what I'm saying? I'm part of the team. I don't care what nobody says. But anyways, at the end of the day, it's a culmination of everything you've done. But at the end of the day, you also know that the end is near, right? You now start seeing the light. You start seeing, like, now I'm starting to look at drafts, right? I'm starting to look at mock drafts and stuff. So, and let me know if you guys want to see more of that. You know what I mean? Let me know if you guys want more draft talk. I know it's a little bit early, but, I love draft talk. I really do. What's going on, Jacob? He said, Joe, I can't stay, bro. I'm watching Warriors game. Are you streaming NFL playoffs? I think I should. I think I might. Me and my girl have been setting up like a little show station. So I'm going to, maybe y'all could help me talk her into hopping on one of their lives with us. That would be fun. I don't know. She might punch me for saying that on the live. But no, yeah, you're at that game, right, Jacob? Yeah, have fun, brother. Have fun. I know this was very impromptu. So I appreciate everybody that's on the live chat, everybody that's on YouTube side, everybody that's on the Twitch side, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're tuning in from. Be sure to hit that like, hit that follow, whatever you do on whatever social media it is that you're watching this. Do that. I would really appreciate that. Or just come on over to the YouTube side. As you can see, the YouTube chat is always a place to be. Depending on what show it is, I'll say that much. It's definitely a place to be. It's an interesting place to be. Richard says Hurts will be good to go playoff times. I agree. Ref Taco says long time no see. You telling me, brother? We've been looking for you. We've been APB. We put the APB out on you, brother. I can't imagine what kind of WWE character Lane Johnson would be. I would be so excited. I would be so excited to see what Lane would do. I would be so excited. And I work, y'all know I work with Fanfield, and one of the people that I work with is Mojo Riley. I don't know if you guys watch wrestling, but he was a wrestler. I think he won the Andre Giant Battle of the Royal. I forget what it's called. My head is in 100 different places, but he's a great guy. He's an amazing guy, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he works in wrestler development and character development. He would be an interesting guy to go out there and help a guy like Lane Johnson. Maybe we can make that happen. That would be kind of cool. There will be a question as to if we have the best short yardage run option on the team version of it. Yeah, that's a very solid, concern. But at the end of the day, I don't think like they're gonna pull any stops. I don't think they're gonna, if it's a 1 yard, QB sneak, I think that Jalen Hurts is just gonna go do it. I don't. That's not what he got hurt on, if I'm not mistaken. It was the run that he got hurt on that the guy just kind of landed on his shoulder. I mean, look, every play you're at risk of being injured. It's unfortunate. That's the game that they play, and I'm not trying to, make light of it or act like it's not a big deal. It is a big deal, but you go into every play with that inherent risk, and I don't think that the Eagles are in a position or think that they're in a position that they can take that lightly, but I also don't think they want to be cautious. I think that they're just going to go out there and play football. So that's what I'm assuming. You know what I'm saying? We'll see what happens. What's going on, Imani? What's going on? We need to get Ringo from Georgia with our first pick. He's a cornerback. Look, man, I did a video, Michael, I did a video called 5 Cornerbacks Not Named Kaylee Ringo. And reason being that I did that is because, one, a lot of mock drafts right now, and I say right now pretty firmly, have Kaylee Ringo going pretty early. But I'm going to be honest, and maybe this is like jumping off a ledge. I don't think his tape really jumps out right now. I think that and I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm saying that he's probably along the same lines of probably like 2 or 3 other guys. I mean, Christian Gonzalez is a guy that I really like out of Oregon, I believe. Go watch that video. Go watch that video and let me know what you think, because there are probably like 3 or 4 of those guys that I wouldn't say take before Kaylee Ringo, but I would say if I got those guys instead of Kaylee Ringo, I wouldn't be upset, and I would think that I would get a pretty good value. So there's some really good cornerbacks in this draft. So definitely go check out that video. And I'm thinking of doing that with kind of all the top prospects, because a lot of people are talking about these top guys, but I don't think people realize how deep some of these defensive positions are this year. So, and even on the offensive line, there's some, and I didn't think that I was going to get into draft talk, but you got to love it. But even when you look at the offensive line, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of raw talent in some forms, but there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of guys that I think could be day one starters or contributors pretty early in their career. So, and that's obviously always what you're looking for. Samuel Rose says Ben Simmons is the best athlete in Philly history. Vandalist says go Birds. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. She's on to something. That's a very, very smart woman right there. That's my girl. That's a beautiful woman. Love that woman to death. Nets season, you already know. Nets looking good. Nets looking good. I'm not gonna lose, half my audience by going on a Nets rant, but my Nets looking good, and I'm hoping they keep it there. We need to watch the Georgia Bulldogs defensive line. They have monsters. What do you think about it? The SEC has great talent. The SEC definitely has great talent. I mean, look, I would have to really jump into it. There's a lot of people that I like right now that I've just kind of seen over the year. You know what I'm saying? A guy that jumps out of my, out to me right now is Kalijah Kancey. He's not one of the maybe top 5, depending on who you talk to. I would probably put him right there in the top 5. I really would have to sit down. But interior defensive lineman, he's very versatile. He jumps off the page. Jared Verse was a guy that I was hoping would come out of college this year. I believe he's going back to FSU. He was a guy that I thought was very, very good. He again, versatility. That's something that I'm looking for in this defensive. There's a lot of guys that can move from the inside to the outside and vice versa. So you're getting versatile guys all throughout, in my opinion, the first 2 rounds. So there's a lot of good line talent, offensively and defensively. But don't quote me on that. Let me give me some more time. You know what I'm saying? Give me some more time to really go through everything and get everything together. But this year we're gonna go crazy with the draft talk. I'm promising you guys that. I've done interviews in the past. I'm gonna go really hard with that. I kind of took the year off last year with that. We did a couple, but I kind of took the year off with that. Was just kind of trying to figure out how to do it the best way we could. But this year, we're gonna definitely do that. We're definitely doing that. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got 25 people on the YouTube side. Everybody on the YouTube side, definitely hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, this is very impromptu. This is very last minute, but I appreciate everybody coming in. What's going on, D3 Springs? I think I said what up to you. I think I saw you. Ref Taco says if we lose one of 2, Hargrave and Graham or Barnett, we better lose. Barnett? Isn't Derek Barnett gone? Derek Barnett's gone, right? I'm not tripping. Didn't we cut him? Am I tripping? Could you see us using both of our firsts to move up? I would, again, give me some time and really look through it. I don't want to say no, but off the top of my head, I would say no. Like off the just my gut feeling, I don't think that there's a guy that really jumps out that much. But give me a little bit of time to really look through these prospects, and maybe there is a person that actually jumps out. But just give me a little bit of time because I don't want to say no definitively. You know how I like to get down. You think Reddick should have been first team All Pro? I do. Nina, I do. I personally do. Look, it was a weird situation because you all know I like to do these interviews, and after a while you kind of build a rapport. You kind of build the, I like these. I don't want to say friendships and make it weird for like all you things we were friends, but I think that we are cool. I think that we're cool enough that I can reach out to them on a pretty consistent basis. And, PFF left him off their list entirely. Hassan Reddick wasn't on their first or second team, I believe. So I had to ask, and you'll see what the, response is to that, and I don't want to give away the cookies, but I think he gave a good enough reason. And I think sometimes as fans, especially of our team, you know what I'm saying, when you throw a little bit of bias, and it is what it is. And, we have that bias in us. We always want our guys to get a little bit over on the others, right? So when you take that into account, I understand having a guy that's still in the top 5, top 3, top 4, depending on how you look at it. I think that's still pretty good. I think he was just shy is kind of what Sam was getting to. But like I said, I did talk to him and ask him that. So that's going to come up and we'll get to that. You guys are killing it in the chat. I don't know how this happens. I swear, I promise you, I was like, yo, this is so last minute. Nobody's going to want to come in and I feel so bad. Like I need to get better at this. And here we are. We got 30 people in the chat chilling, just killing it. I appreciate all you guys. Taylor says, I'm here for the draft talk. I love draft talk. You know what I'm saying? I love draft talk. If you guys really do, we have the Philly Facebook group chat, which has blown up. I think we're almost close to 100 members in that group chat. Definitely go join that. That's been a lot of fun. In this off season, that's going to definitely be the place for the off season, just randomized talk. I want to start utilizing the Discord more and just like really, because I know it's like a small probably percentage of my audience that really likes that draft talk that much. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna definitely talk. What's going on next shift? What's going on? Mock draft season. It's a beautiful thing. It's been a minute. It has been a minute, and it's my fault. It really is my fault. I've been terrible as of late, but we getting back. 3 of the last 10 Super Bowl winners have been teams with a quarterback on a rookie deal forward to Tom Brady, who take less pay to sign players to it. Yeah, true. $40 million quarterbacks scare me with their track record. I understand it, and look, I get it, man. We're going into scary territory. When you talk about this NFL though, it's ever changing, right? It's never going to stay the same. The $40 million that we look at right now and $50 million that we look at right now in terms of football, and we say, wow, that's a lot of money. In a couple years, you might be looking at that and being like, wow, we got a pretty good deal. You look at Carson Wentz's deal, right? When it first was signed, everybody was like, that's a crazy deal. That's mad money. And then you look back at it and it was like, oh, well, that was just kind of ahead of its time. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where we are. The money's going to continually go up. The TV deals are going to go up. So the cap is going to go up next year. It's going to go up pretty substantially, actually. And I think we're already sitting around $40-50 million in free cap. So there's wiggle room, and it sucks. Don't get me wrong, but I think that we have a good enough team builder in Howie Roseman, and I think that he's proven himself over these past couple years that he's going to listen to his team and he's going to listen to his front office. So I understand the worry, and I'm there with you, but I think it's just the NFL we're looking at. Shout out to Taylor Bowers, member for 21 months. Taylor, aren't you in Tampa? Am I bugging out? Aren't you in Tampa? We need to go and just like troll the Cowboys. Like, I'm trying to find people to come with us. I'm trying to put together a team of people, just a team of people that are ready to just talk to Cowboys fans out here. But I appreciate you, man, renewing your membership. I appreciate that. And shout out to everybody that's a member, man. Shout out to Joey Shakes. Joey Shakes has gifted like 20 memberships over the past 3 months. It's been insane. I love that, man. D Barnett is injured. Why did I think that we cut him? Why did I think that we cut? Well, no, we re-signed him, didn't we? We re-signed him to like a 2-year deal. That's what we did. Damn, that's terrible. That's terrible. I forgot all about that. I wonder how much he would even cost, though. I doubt he would cost that much. If he, maybe this is a story for another time. I'm going to get into the playoff predictions real quick, and then we are going to get into this Sam Monson interview. I apologize, guys. I got into a whole, I just went into a whole different world because of you guys. But now, what would you do? Because if the Eagles could get him for like $2 or $3 million, $4 or $5 million, and it's not really costing you another player, maybe you do bring him back. I know we're a little bit upset with him, you know what I mean? Especially me. I'll be the first to tell you, right? But that might be a good deal. You know, a guy that has something to prove. That would be interesting. But listen, I'm gonna get into these playoff predictions. We're gonna talk these playoff predictions. I'm gonna keep going through these comments and everything, so don't worry, I won't just like abandon the comments. But let me just get this up real quick. Let me just pull it up real quick. Oh, hold on. Having technical difficulties. But I want to get into the playoffs. I'm only going to talk about the first round. That's all I'm going to talk about. I'm only going to talk about this wild card, and then next week we'll definitely get into the Eagles and all that good stuff. But I'm only going to talk about this wild card round for now. And we're going to talk game through game. So hopefully it don't take me too long. I want to know what you guys think as I'm going through it, though. I want to know what you think of each game. And if I'm off base, because at the end of the day, this is going to be a crazy playoff. If you really think about it, we got some of the youngest quarterbacks when it comes to a playoff chase. So I think it's going to be crazy. All right, let's go. We got this up. All right. So we're going to do it like this, like that. All right, where Brooklyn at? No, let me stop. So we're going to go game through game. So I'm going to start with the AFC side, and then we'll go on over to the NFC side, because I'll probably want to say a little bit more about the Eagles game, you know, and how I have that going. But as of right now, I have the Dolphins playing the Bills, obviously, and I have the Bills winning that game. If Tua was playing, I would have gave the Dolphins a little bit more of a chance. I really would have. I would have gave the Dolphins a little bit more of a chance. But I think, you know, not having him, I think they're going with Skylar Thompson, if I'm not mistaken. Bills I think that they're going to go out there and they're going to show their dominance. This is something they've been playing for a while. And honestly, that sets up the perfect matchup for me. So anyway, so the Ravens and then going against the Bengals. Again, Ravens, I don't think that they're going to have Lamar Jackson from what I'm reading. That obviously stinks. That's not, you know, you want to see the best guys out there during this playoff run. And it's unfortunate that we're not going to see that when it comes to the Ravens. But we're not going to see Lamar from what I'm reading and hearing. So I do have the Bengals going ahead and winning that game. And like I said, that sets up a matchup that I think that we would all love to see. You know, a Bengals versus Bills matchup. That's going to be very interesting. See what Joey B can do against that defense. See what Josh Allen can do, you know, against a feisty Bengals team. The Bengals don't go out easy, and they've been on a very good tear as of late. Next, we have the Chargers and the Jaguars. It took a lot in me. I'm going to be 100% honest. It took a lot in me to not give the Jaguars this win. I think that the Jaguars are going to play their hearts out. I think that this is going to be a very, very, very good game. I think this is going to be a very good game. And I wouldn't be surprised if Doug Peterson finds a way to go out there and win and the Chargers end up winning. But personally, I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I think that Justin Herbert's been waiting for this, you know, moment to go out there and prove that he is one of those guys, and I think that he'll do that against the Jaguars. But I do think it'll be a good game, and that sets up another good matchup with Kansas City and the Chargers. I like that matchup. I think that'll be a high octane kind of scoring matchup. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Kansas City has a good defense, but not really a great defense, so I think that both defenses can be gotten. But they have playmakers on both sides, so I think it'll be electric. I really do. No pun intended when it comes to the Chargers. Next, we move on to the NFC side, and we're going to move from the bottom up here because, again, like I said, I probably want to go a little bit longer on the Giants game. But, look, I got the Buccaneers winning. The Buccaneers, Tom Brady himself is, I believe, 8-0 or 7-0. I believe it's 7-0 against the Cowboys lifetime. He has never lost to the Dallas Cowboys in his career. So, that's a trend that can continue. The Dallas Cowboys haven't won in an away playoff game since 1992. That's a streak right there in itself. So, look, there's a lot of history going against the Dallas Cowboys, and then there's my hatred that goes against the Dallas Cowboys. So, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers here. I think that Tom figures it out for one game, and he's able to go out there and take advantage of a defense that I feel like is struggling, and a team, in all honesty, outside of, they have been good on offense when it comes to scoring. They have been good on offense when it comes to just moving the ball up and down the field. But defensively, I feel like they've been struggling, and offensively, I feel like the turnovers can be something that really haunts you, especially in the playoffs. So I think that's something to watch out for. So I got the Buccaneers winning that game. And then obviously I'm moving all over the board, but we're going to go to who they are going to be playing. So I have San Fran going ahead and beating the Seahawks. There's part of me, there's a big part of me that wants to see what Purdy can do. Either way, this is going to be a good story, right? You either have Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant or whatever it may be, going out there and winning a playoff game for his team. I believe they're on a 10-game win streak right now or something of the sorts. And then you look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks shouldn't be where they are right now. You can make the argument that they are outplaying their expectations tenfold, and that coach, Pete Carroll might be looked at in that coach of the year consideration, and maybe a win here, it solidifies that a little bit. I think that in matchups like this where I feel like it's a coin toss, I think you got to look at the best, who has the best unit, right? And I think that San Fran's defense is just the best unit that's going to be out there on that field. And for that reason, I really do think that the San Francisco 49ers will end up winning that game. Now, probably the biggest upset here, I think the only upset here by numbers, is the Giants over the Vikings. Why do I think that the Vikings will lose this game? Because I don't think the Vikings are a great team. I think that they are a very good team. And, we'll figure this out. The Eagles might not be a great team. Who knows? We'll figure this all out, guys. We're going to figure this all out very, very soon. I promise you that much. But look, I don't think that the Vikings are a good team. I think that they have been in a lot of fights and a lot of, drag them out, knock them out type games. And I think that type of game, when you have a top 5 running offense as the Giants do, I think that really favors the Giants. So I think that the Giants are able to pull this one out. I think it might, if I'm being honest, I think it might be a blowout. I could be 100% wrong there. This could be the, facepalm moment of the show, but I think that the Giants end up, beating the Vikings, and I'll even go on record saying that I think it might end up being a blowout. I really do. MG says Seattle 44, the 49ers 3. That would be interesting. Why would you think that? Why would you think that? Drew said, yeah, the AFC is top heavy on a lot of tough matchups in the first round outside of Chargers and Jags. Yeah, I mean, if the Jaguars figure it out, though, Doug Peterson has shown that he can put his team together and win a couple games. That beat sound like Cassidy about to hop on. It is hard. That beat is hard. Maybe all these beats. Backyard Birds, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? D. Aldridge in the building. I just want to make sure I say what up to everybody. Big D in the building. What's going on? What's going on? DG in the building. Jacksonville, Cincy, Buffalo, AFC. That would be interesting. I would not mind seeing that. I would not mind seeing that. Mons, what's going on? What's going on? Peterson won a Super Bowl and then got fired. He did. Hey, you're talking to an Eagles fan, so I know. He definitely did. He definitely did. All right, so I do have the Giants going ahead and beating the Vikings, and with that, right? With that comes a matchup against our Philadelphia Eagles, right? So if the Giants are to beat the Minnesota Vikings and everything else kind of played out how I had it outside of Seattle. If Seattle ended up winning, we would play them, right? But if they lose and the Giants win, we would be playing the Giants. So what do I think of that game? I think that we should be able to demolish them. I don't think that it should be a game. I think that we should be able to go out there and impose our will. I don't think that you've seen the first game, right? The first game we went out there and dominated them with Jalen Hurts and our full team out there. The second game was a tougher task, right, with Gardner Minshew out there, but we still were able to never really allow them. They never had the lead, right? They never had the lead, and for most of the game, you could sit there, and I felt like we could not do anything on offense, and our defense was doing enough to stop them. Now, obviously, they had a lot of backups in as well, so it's going to be interesting, right? This is going to, people say this will be the third matchup. To me, it's more like the second. But I think that we should look at that first matchup and be able to use that as a measuring stick and say we should be able to go out there and beat up on these boys. But listen, we are going to get I'll get to that when we get to. We'll talk about that game more in depth next week. MG, I'm gonna give you a moderator, man. I appreciate you being in here. I appreciate you not cursing. That's really what it is. You gotta wait a couple comments, make sure people ain't in here cursing, saying crazy stuff. But what's going on, Josh? What's going on? Are you an Eagles fan now, Josh? Is that what's going on? Is that what's going on, Josh? Did I make my nephew an Eagles fan? I'll take that. I will take that. We will take you on over here on the Philly side of things. But listen, guys, I want to say again, I appreciate everybody that is in here. I know that this is very random, but this might be something that we continue to do. I meant to only really talk for like 10-20 minutes, and we've sat here for almost 30, so I do appreciate you. I love you guys, but I did have the honor and the pleasure to go ahead and speak to Sam Monson of PFF. I know a lot of people were upset about PFF's first teams and they, some of the stuff they've been saying about the team, but they've been saying some good things too. So I wanted to ask him about that. I wanted to break down this playoff seeding, this wild card weekend. So that's exactly what we did. So I hope that you guys enjoy this interview. I will be in the comments. Join me on YouTube if you're watching anywhere other than there. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, wherever it is that you are watching, leave a like. Come on over to the YouTube side. Let's talk in the chat. And thank you so much to Sam Monson for allowing me to have this interview. And thank you so much to Fanfield. Anybody that follows me, anybody that supports me knows that I work for Fanfield. We just did our early access release for Michael Vick's collection. Shout out to my guy Michael Vick, and it sold out within 2 hours. So thank you so much to everybody that's been supporting me outside of this podcast. But that's enough for me, man. Let's get into this interview. Other than that, y'all know what it is, because I'm not gonna say it in the interview. I should have, but I didn't. I don't know why, but y'all know what it is. Fly Eagles fly, and we out here. So let's get it. We're not peace though. Check out this interview. Peace, though. I love y'all.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
So today we have a very special guest. We got my guy Sam Monson on from PFF. Sam, how's it going, man? Always a pleasure to get you back on here.
It's good. It's good. How about you?
I can't complain. I cannot complain. So we're heading into playoff football. We're heading into the nitty gritty of the season and everything. We spoke prior to the season and we kind of spoke about what our expectations were going into the season. But now that we're finally, finished with the regular season, I want to ask you, what were some of the biggest surprises? I feel like this season was chock full of them, but some of the bigger surprises for you this year.
Yeah, I guess the two biggest ones are probably related. It's Geno Smith playing like he did this season out of pretty much nowhere. When Seattle traded away Russell Wilson, everybody said the Seahawks are rebuilding. Like Pete Carroll, as old as he is starting a full rebuild. It's, isn't that insane? And nobody expected Geno Smith to be like playing at a high level and one of their best players. And yet that's exactly what happened. Like Geno Smith, certainly the first half of the year was playing at a Pro Bowl level, cooled off as the season went on a little bit, but was still a reason Seattle was doing well. And then the flip side of that is Russell Wilson. When he went to Denver, everyone was saying Denver's finally got a quarterback. They can now be real contenders in the AFC West, and maybe they were a Super Bowl team. And Russell Wilson and the Denver thing was such a disaster that Nathaniel Hackett didn't even make it through the season. Like that's how badly that went for them. So there's a lot of surprises, like you said, but those have to be the two biggest ones to me.
Yeah, I mean, walking into the season, thinking they probably thought their first round pick was going to be the top 5, top 10 pick ends Denver. It was crazy, and it killed a lot of fantasy football seasons. I'll say from my own experience. Russell Wilson absolutely murdered me this year. But we talked about surprises. We talk about the negative and positives, but there's been a lot of records broken this year. For a bunch of different teams. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan. We've seen a lot of records broken, but I feel across the league. And I wanted to ask you, because I know you guys, you crunch the numbers, football, especially when it comes to numbers. So I wanted to know, do you think this is a product, seeing all these crazy numbers from these players? Is this a product of just the extra game, or are these guys like really that good? Are we seeing kind of a new level of athlete coming out?
I think a lot of it is the extra game. That certainly helped people. But like offense generally has been kind of down a little bit this year. Like the first half of the season, we were all asking, have defenses finally figured out how to slow down offenses? Is this too high coverage look? Is this going to be the thing that stops everything? I think overall quarterback play was still a little down over the whole season because of stuff like that. So the fact that, Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson or these guys are able to put up crazy numbers, like, I don't think that's necessarily a product of everybody, like offense still cooking this year. I think those two guys just had great years. They came up a little bit short of Megatron's record, but yeah, I think that was more of a case of individual kind of great seasons than it was the entire league putting up crazy numbers.
Yeah, and historically, it's always kind of a interesting point, looking back. Obviously, we look back to like the 80s and we look back to the 2000s, and we take in the game in the context of what it was then. Do you think some of these numbers, like, I don't even want to say deserve, but do you think looking 20 years from now, 10 years from now, people will look at this time and kind of give it an asterisk because it was the extra game and it was kind of a change in football? Or do you think these are solid things that are happening and kind of will continue to occur?
I think you've always got to try and put any, era into its context. Like Dan Marino breaking 5,000 yards in the 80s was crazy, right? That's absurd. Like that's happening, as often as not now. A guy is breaking 5,000 yards. Like it's getting to be a pretty regular occurrence. But in 1984, that was madness like that. And it stood for, like, that was the only time that happened for what, 15 years or something until somebody did it again. So, you have to sort of take a look back at what the landscape looked like at that time and compare seasons to the era that they came from. But, when you look back, the season that Tyreek Hill had and Justin Jefferson had, like those are going to be great seasons no matter how far removed from it we are. They're going to get more and more frequent because of the 17th game, because like offense isn't going anywhere anytime soon. This was a relative down year for offense and everybody was still putting up some pretty huge numbers. So yeah, like PFF has now been around since 2006 doing NFL games. And if you go back and watch games from 2006, it's like watching games from the 80s. Like it's not the same offense. We're looking at I formation, 2 wide receivers max, like heavy play action passes, 7-step drops from under center. It's a different game. Like, so all this sort of cheap, easy manufactured passing yardage now didn't exist in the early 2000s, or it certainly didn't exist as like a mainstay of people's offense. So yeah, like receivers are going to have 300 extra yards just from lining up and playing wide receiver in 2022, 2023 in a way that they didn't have in, 2004. Like they had to go out and earn those plays in a slightly different way. So I think you've always got to be a little bit aware of what the landscape of the league look like in any given season.
Yeah, it's cool to see how it's kind of evolving and how all the analytics kind of have to evolve with it. So I like to ask that question. Now, I want to look a little forward to. I mean, it's really not that far ahead. It's tomorrow, right? We're looking at wild card, weekend and the games that are going on. I feel like every year, last year, I feel like it was the Bengals. There's every year there's that one team that kind of sneaks up on you that just makes a nice little run when it's the right time. Do you look at any of these teams playing this weekend and say, this team could be getting hot at the right time? People might not be talking about this team. Is there anybody you're looking at and just like, yeah, guys got to kind of watch out for this team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Cincinnati are the one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. They kind of, because of the Damar Hamlin situation and the fact that that game got abandoned, we didn't quite get a kind of to put a bow on what the Bengals were doing. But if you look at their run in and like the run of wins, consecutive wins they're on, if you added a Buffalo win to that as well, their resume coming into the postseason would be as good as anybody, including Kansas City. So there's almost like a little bit of we're sort of sleeping on that slightly because of that game getting abandoned and the whole Damar Hamlin thing. But the Bengals really are as good as any team in the NFL right now. And then I think the other team sort of coming into form at the right time are Jacksonville, right? They were dead and buried a while ago, and they came back, and coupled with Tennessee completely collapsing, they were able to steal that division. And now they go into a game against the Chargers, a team that they already beat easily earlier in the season, albeit, a Chargers team that was much more banged up than it is now. Like, Jacksonville are absolutely not to be taken lightly.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm glad that you bring up Jacksonville because, coaching, I feel like Doug Peterson is the one person trying to prove to everybody coaching really does. Man, I feel like everywhere he goes, he just turns the culture around. He turns, the team around. So it's nice to see what he's doing. But I'm glad you bring them up, and I'm glad you bring the Kansas City Chiefs up because you look at Patrick Mahomes, a young quarterback in the NFL, but he's the grandpa of the AFC when it comes to, the playoffs. And obviously the NFC has its two older guys with Geno and Tom Brady. But for the most part, these are young guys in the playoffs. And I think that even prior to the season, me and you kind of were saying, this is a Mahomes league where he's kind of that guy that we all thought was going to be that superstar. And I think a lot of us still feel he is that guy. But looking at the youth at the quarterback position in these playoffs, is there a guy that you look at? Maybe it's a Trevor Lawrence who was able to, have the highest leap in QBR, I think, in NFL history. Or is it maybe a Justin Herbert finally getting into the playoffs, getting to show what he can do? Is there a guy at that quarterback position that you're looking at like, hey, he can maybe take that title of, the face of the league as we all thought Mahomes was just kind of running away with it?
I mean, I think you're just seeing like this is the new wave. This is all of the young guys in the NFL pretty much in the playoffs at the same time. Like the entire AFC playoff field effectively is younger than Stetson Bennett. Like it's insane. All of these guys are like 26 and younger. We've got Mahomes, Josh Allen. I think those two are going to go back and forth for years, like we saw last season, like everybody sort of hoped would be the case. Joe Burrow is sort of putting his hand up and saying, hey, guys, it's not going to be just you two. Like, I'm here as well, and I'm going to be back every year as well. Like, he said they were asking him about a Super Bowl window for Cincinnati, and he was like, the window is my whole career, and so far it looks like he's right. And then you've got Justin Herbert. It's not quite been as sort of successful for him so far, but he's playing at that kind of level. Trevor Lawrence has finally taken the step forward and broken out after being such a highly touted prospect. We're not even going to get to see, from the looks of it, Lamar Jackson, certainly this week, maybe in the future, and Tua. Like, so many young guys. This is the new group. Instead of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, like, this is the group now. And from a couple of years ago where maybe it looked like there was going to be a drop-off when those old guys finally retired and there wasn't really a group of young quarterbacks looking to sort of take the spot and take the baton and keep going. Now we have them. Like, the last few draft classes have just given us so many of these good young quarterbacks, almost all of whom look like they're going to be legit going forward.
Yeah, and this past draft class, I feel like there's so many guys out here that are, me and you talked earlier in the season about Sauce Gardner, and you loved how he looked, preseason, and he's went out there and balled, the freak out. He's been looking insane, and I'm glad that you bring up, Tom Brady as well, because I'm an Eagles guy, so I have to bring in a Cowboys question just to, feed my own ego. I'm hoping I hear the right there, but something's gonna change, right? The Cowboys have not won an away playoff game since '92. They haven't beaten Tom Brady, and Tom Brady and the Buccaneers have not looked like they did last year, right? Last year, they looked a lot better than they do right now. But at the same time, it's Tom Brady, and it's hard to put your money against Tom Brady. What are you looking for? Like, do you think Tom Brady can spark it back up? I mean, he ended the season not on a pretty note, but again, I have no other real argument than it's Tom Brady, you know, and for a lot of years that just worked. Is this the year you're finally saying I'm not putting my money on Tom? I think that, you know, he might get handled.
That's the thing. It's like it's evidence versus faith at this point. Like there's no evidence this season that the Bucs are going to put it together and go on this run and finally finally play to the potential that we know was there, because most of these guys were there last year. Like Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette. We know these guys are capable of better play than this, even without Rob Gronkowski and even with an offensive line that's taken a step back. Like we know they're capable of better than this. And we've seen it in a couple of flashes this season. There was like half a game, and then there was, one other game against Carolina. They've shown it in pieces, but they've had 17 weeks, 6 to 18 weeks, 17 games to get it together. And it's never happened. So at this point, you're like, there's no reason it would start now other than the fact that we know it's Tom Brady. And not only is he the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's the greatest playoff quarterback of all time. And if anybody can just flip a switch and turn it on, it's Brady. Plus the thing in their favor is that Dallas is collapsing as well. Like Dallas looks terrible right now. Now, okay, they haven't looked bad for as long as the Bucs have. It's only been the last few weeks, but it's the wrong time to be struggling and to be going into the playoffs with your quarterback not playing well and the offense or the whole team generally struggling. So, maybe Tampa Bay gets one game where they get to beat another team that's struggling to get over the line, and then all of a sudden you only need 2 games to pull yourself together to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if they figure it out this week, I will not be mad at that. This is the perfect time for you to be the Tom Brady of old. And I think a stat, and I don't know if I'm 100% right on this, but I believe it was Tom Brady himself has like 35 playoff games compared to the rest of the bunch that I think has like 34 or something like that. So I saw that on Twitter. Who knows how how reliable Twitter is sometimes, but I believe that was a stat I saw, which is just crazy. Tom Brady has time on his side. He has the experience, so it'll be interesting. Maybe I'm just kind of hoping, because like I said, I have an Eagles fan, so I'm hoping he can take those Cowboys out. Now we have, awards coming out. We have, the first teams coming out, all that and everything. And I know that PFF likes to give out their awards as well. And one thing I want to ask you, because I've been getting caught up on this, and this is something that I feel like, I don't want to say argument, but I think it's a debate between, NFL circles, people, just fans and everything. We know, the guys that they're looking at for coach of the year, right? There's a lot of different people. I don't want to necessarily know who you maybe want. If you want to say it, you're more than welcome. But I want to know, what is a coach of the year? Is the coach of the year, at least to you, in your opinion, is a coach of the year just the best, the coach on the best team? Is he the guy that surprises you the most with, what he does, with what he had? What, in your opinion, do you think really embodies a coach of the year?
It's a great question, because there is no criteria for any of these things. And I think that's where a lot of the arguments and a lot of the weird votes come from and actually, so this was the first year I'm one of the 50 voters now for the Associated Press, the AP awards. Awesome. So like the official awards, my ballot is one of the 50. And it only occurred to me like today that when they send you the ballot, like I didn't get any direction either. There was no, this is what MVP is. This is what Rookie of the Year is. Like, this is the criteria. They just send you the ballot and say, fill it in. So you're right. Like, what is Coach of the Year to you is an entirely subjective, arbitrary, nebulous concept that you just have to figure out on your own. And there's 50 different people figuring it out however they see fit, right? And the only one that makes any kind of sense is the MVP thing, because at least value is in the name, right? So you have to sort of think, well, what does value mean to me? But the rest of it, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, coach of the year, it's all just what you think, what you value, right? And it could be anything. So, I mean, I think you can make an insane case for like half a dozen coaches this year. Obviously, Nick Sirianni and the Eagles sort of being one of the best teams in the NFL is a self-evident achievement. Kyle Shanahan doing what he's doing with Brock Purdy and his third quarterback this season is pretty insane. The job that Brian Daboll has done with the Giants is crazy, because it's very difficult to find a reason that the Giants are in the playoffs other than the fact that they won a bunch of games that they shouldn't have won. there's so many. Mike Tomlin having a winning record with a combination of Mitchell Trubisky and then Kenny Pickett, a first-round quarterback that nobody else wanted, is pretty crazy. I think there's so many really deserving candidates for Coach of the Year, and as you say, it's just what you value the most.
Yeah, well, if I could throw a bug in your ear, Nick Sirianni. I just can't. But that's awesome. That's cool that you get to make that decision, and it's cool to kind of get. I didn't know that you are now making those decisions, so it's cool to kind of get that question into you, because that is nice to kind of jump in your mind and know that you're going through the same things that we kind of go through as far as what we're thinking. So I have to ask you, look. Sam, you're my guy. I've had you on the show a lot of times. We've spoken a lot. So I don't feel attacked when I ask you this, but I am an Eagles fan, and I have to ask. The all-pro first teams and second teams came out, and you guys left my guy Hassan Reddick off. And to be fair, so did the players, and I believe he was second team with the official one. I want to ask you, what is your opinion on Reddick? What is your opinion on him? Because you know where I'm coming from. We have to fight the Micah versus, Hassan Reddick all the time and everything. So I kind of want to just know your opinion on those players and maybe jump, get some of us Eagles players off the ledge that were a little upset about that. But what do you think kind of went into that decision?
I really like Hassan Reddick. I've liked that guy since he was a prospect, and I did a lot of his college games. I was still grading tape back in PFF college when he was playing at Temple. And, then he came into the NFL and they tried to make him this off-the-ball linebacker, and it's like, that's not what he's good at. He's a good pass rusher. He's an elite pass rusher. And, okay, he's undersized, and maybe it's going to come with some drawbacks, but put him on the edge and let him do his thing. Like, stop trying to turn him into something that he isn't. And they finally did that in Arizona, and he became that guy again, and obviously got the contract in Philadelphia. And he's been a top-tier pass rusher. Like, I think the only thing really that separates him from some of those other guys is he isn't as good against the run as they are, because he's, lighter weight, and because he is almost a sort of a specialist pass rusher. And, he's right up there with, I think, the top-tier pass rushers just from a pure pass rushing standpoint. But he's nowhere near those other guys in the run game, even the ones that aren't, as good as like Nick Bosa and Max Crosby were incredible against the run this year. And those guys were better, I think, than Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. And then there's another step down to Hassan Reddick, who, is at that level. So I think he had a great season. And absolutely, if you were like looking purely in pass rush terms, I think he'd definitely have a case. But as soon as you start to try and split hairs between these guys who all had incredible seasons, I think there's enough in the run game stuff to drop Reddick to like fifth out of those guys.
No, I respect that. There's like 60 pass rushers that start, so I can't be too upset with answering that question, because I'm telling you, all of my fans, all my subscribers, they're like, you better ask Sam that. Don't back down. Don't back down from this. But I got two more questions for you, and then I will get you out of here, Sam. I got to ask you, man, this weekend, I feel like there's a lot of storylines as far as if you go out there and win. If you don't go out there and win, there's things that may happen with these teams. I automatically look at a team like the Dallas Cowboys, and if they lose in the first round, there may be some changes. But in your opinion, what team this weekend is under the most pressure to win?
I mean, I think Dallas is the team. Like, to me, there's only two teams that are under real pressure this week in terms of like coaches might not make it if they don't win this game. I think Dallas is the obvious one. Again, like Jerry Jones has to be looking at this team and thinking like, this is a good team. This is a team that can win the Super Bowl, and it's going up against a Bucs team, who were bad most of this year, like had a losing record. If you can't go there and win, like that's the kind of thing that's going to make him swing the axe and go call up Sean Payton and offer him whatever he wants to come and coach the team, So I think Dallas is definitely on the hot seat if that goes south. And then I think the Chargers, I think Brandon Staley is probably under a lot of pressure, and his job could be in danger if they lose for a couple of reasons. One, I think the luster around him generally is sort of worn off, and he went away from a lot of the things that worked last season. Some of the things he tried to fix this year didn't really work. And then the weird thing that he did in week 18 of playing all of his starters almost the whole way in a completely meaningless game, that turns out got Mike Williams injured and fractured a bone in his back that's going to keep him out of the playoffs. Like if they lose against Jacksonville because they couldn't find a downfield threat because Mike Williams is, on the shelf because you risked him in a game that was a waste of everybody's time, that's going to be a really difficult thing to try and get over if you're Brandon Staley. So I think his job is potentially at risk as well with a bad game or a bad result.
That's very true. I didn't even think of the Chargers. The Chargers did some dumb stuff last year that I believe kind of cost them the playoff berth. So yeah, I feel like it's like every year we're talking about like, why did you do that, Brandon? And then last question I want to ask you is the one that everybody has to throw in, and it's the inaugural. We're in the playoffs. And I'm gonna ask it a little bit different because I'm not gonna just say who do you think is gonna make the playoffs. I want to know, if you could create your own dream Super Bowl out of the teams that are in the NFC and the AFC, what matchup would you want to see, and who do you think would win that matchup?
I like that.
I try to switch it up for you.
The Super Bowl that I picked preseason was Buffalo, Philadelphia. So that's still alive. And for selfish reasons, I'm all for seeing that. So I do think there would be something special about Buffalo being in the Super Bowl after the whole DeMar Hamlin thing and everything that happened there. Like the narrative, the story around Buffalo is going to be so good if they go throughout this entire playoffs. And anytime, Josh Allen is the quarterback, it's always an exciting game to watch because he's just capable of special things. Who from the NFC would make the most interesting or the best matchup for Buffalo? I think honestly, Philadelphia might be. I think San Francisco would be another one if they continue the scary run they're on, which is pretty insane. And also if Brock Purdy was still the quarterback at that point, or even if Jimmy G was potentially able to come back, like that would be a pretty fascinating narrative as well. So I think from the NFC, those would be the two teams that would make the most interesting narrative. And then I guess if you're putting Buffalo there for the story and for the DeMar Hamlin thing, you might as well give them the Super Bowl after four Super Bowl losses and Hamlin and everything else that's gone for them. So Buffalo versus either Philadelphia and San Francisco, and then I think I'd like to see Buffalo get it.
I respect that. I can't say anything bad about that. Unfortunately, put me in a situation. I can't be the jerk and say no, they shouldn't win. But no, I think that would be a great matchup. I think that would be fun. But Sam, man, I'm gonna let you get out of here. But I appreciate you always coming on here, always showing love. Is there anything we should be watching out for come playoffs from PFF?
No, just me and Steve on the PFF NFL podcast. I think we're going to be changing up our cadence a little bit. We're going to have more shows during the week, so it's a good time to jump on if you're not listening already.
Yeah, perfect for me because I'll be at work and I listen to you guys all the time when I'm at work, so works out for me. But Sam, I am going to let you go. I appreciate you again, man. But other than that, man, have a great day, brother.
Thanks, you too. Take it easy.
Everywhere, this is for you.
Fly was flying. Touchdown, time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling with Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, really time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.